Hello, and welcome to another episode of my impression series on Maul, Shadow Lord. This is a bit late, but whatever, let's get into it regardless. The third episode begins ominously with Devon leaving Maul's captivity, but Maul takes this as an opportunity to express his more manipulative and heavy-handed techniques to tempt and keep Devon from leaving. At least until Devon has dueled Maul, so Maul can assess her abilities and push her further into frustration with the situation she finds herself regarding her life. Maul reluctantly lets Devon leave after their duel, but with a sense that he knows she'll return to his grasp out of desperation, which I predict will happen with Diodaki's eventual death in the series. I just don't see him living long in this series, which is, well, whatever. He's a bit, at times, boring if I'm honest. We see Maul set a tea ceremony with Devon, quite an unusually peaceful choice by Maul, but we see him still get emotional and frustrated when he discusses his prior relationship with Sidious. Again, you might understand a bit more of Maul's frustration with Sidious in this dialogue if you've read Son of Dathomir for context. Devon and Maul continue discussing of being abandoned and cast aside, needing to adapt in a new regime which actively hunts most Force wielders. Maul also implies Devon and him find themselves in similar circumstances, but Devon pushes back on this, igniting Maul's saber, which was placed next to the tea ceremony he had set, I think strategically by Maul. Also, a fun side note, this seems to be Asajj Ventress's lightsaber, at least the new one she started wielding. I wonder where he picked it up, maybe on Dathomir during the Son of Dathomir comic. But yeah. And afterwards, Maul flicks the room into pure darkness, only illuminated by Maul's saber which Devon is holding tight. And our first lightsaber duel of the series begins here. And I must note how great the choreography is in this duel. We clearly see Lucas Animation's ability in animating these duels has greatly improved since the Clone Wars and Rebels. They are starting to feel, honestly, quite film accurate. It's clear in these tense and cathartic moments in the duel that Devon is trying her best to defend herself from Maul, where it's obvious Maul isn't even using the extent of all of his abilities. Later in the next episode though, we do see a duel where Maul is clearly using the full extent of his abilities. It's always humorous how Maul encounters young Padawan Twi'leks as his opponents, such as Darsa Asant in the Maul Shadowhunter book. Expect a review of that on the channel someday. And the Twi'lek in the 2017 comic series, which is canonically Maul's first Jedi kill. I wonder if Maul is reminded of her when it comes to Devon. Great stuff all around. Maul seems more aggressive here, seeing a sense of his hateful old self and being more aggressive than his new, cold, calculating sense we've seen in the prior episodes. We then proceed to see more of Lawson's and the law enforcement's general investigation of Maul's syndicate, but I can admit these sections slow the episode quite a bit, but these parts do pay off nicely in episode 4. We see some of the difficulties in Lawson's relationship with his son who's participating in some sort of sports. But this part at least didn't pay off in episode 4. I mean, oh well, maybe in the later episodes. I understand it's a way for the writers to humanize Lawson, but he's already quite a likable and good character, and these family moments felt a bit slow in this episode. Maybe we'll see Maul target Lawson's son to extort him, but we'll see. We see again Lawson's droid companion and two moods start to question Lawson's handling of this investigation and yet again pushes him to report the disturbances on Janex to the Empire. This is something that even irked one of Lawson's female co-workers. This episode unfortunately felt a bit slow pacing wise, more of an episode to push the plot forward, setting up the fourth episode. Sometimes a series needs these type of episodes, but it is a little disappointing considering we only have 10 episodes of this season. There's not much comic relief in this series, which is good, minus maybe Vargo, so it does feel quite serious overall tone-wise, but I guess this is a good thing considering this is sort of Andor-esque in its presentation. I am a little surprised after these 2 episodes that the Empire still hasn't been introduced in the series. I mean, we're halfway through, basically, of the series. I am still looking forward to seeing a more oppressive, adult-themed Empire like Andor, rather than the goofballs they tended to be in Rebels. But that was a kid's show, so yeah, we know from the trailers that the Inquisitors will be much more of a threat than they were in Rebels, where they frankly sucked, and they were pretty terrible with their jobs hunting Force users. Diodaki still continues to search for Devon and happens to encounter Lawson at his son's sports event. We also see next a cool shootout with Syndicate goons against the cops, and I did enjoy the setup with the Pikes next episode, which pays up nicely. Sam Witwer's performance continues to impress. You know when you watch a show, especially an animated one, where a select choice of voice actors generally appear in a lot of the shows, and you can recognize them immediately. Sometimes this can take you out a little of the show in the moment if you're immersed deeply in that episode, but Sam Witwer genuinely embodies Maul, and on that topic, his delivery of Starkiller in the Force Unleashed games and Palpatine is so different that I seriously wouldn't know this is Sam Witwer if I obviously wouldn't be aware of all the pre-show press interviews and details. Witwer effortlessly switches from a calm Maul to a frustrated, anger-fueled Maul in an instant, and doesn't feel unnatural or forced one bit. Everyone does a good job voice acting, even if Maul is the standout role here. I do feel Two Boots, Lawson's droid partner, probably has the most aggravating chippy voice in the series so far. His constant whinging about the Empire doesn't help either. At least he's badass in the combat scenes, but he's a bit two-dimensional and monotone. Personality-wise, he's no C-3PO. I'm not that hot on Diodaki either, not because he's really a boring character, at least most of the time. He's just a bit old and set in his old Jedi ways. I mean, he is an Unk Jedi. And his voice acting seems a bit detached also, if still decent, but comes off a bit one-note. Guess on par for an old Jedi set in his ways, as said prior. I don't think his voice acting doesn't suit him, he just isn't the most interesting Jedi Master. Frankly, I would enjoy at least a 2-minute flashback scene on how him and Devon survived Order 66. A bit like Kanan Jarrus and Cal Kestis' Order 66 survival scenes. I mean, yeah, more Order 66 fanservice slop, but I'm all here for that slop, admittedly. But, talking about the next episode. Episode 4 begins with Vario on his way to the Pike Syndicate, where he is forced to spring Maul's trap, cutting off the Pike's leadership. It's fun seeing him being nervous in this scene and informing the Pikes this is a setup, trying to win their trust a little bit. This was an inventive trap. Rather than just seeing Maul immediately jumping off the ship slaughtering the Pikes, Maul dresses up one of his Dathomir Zabrak soldiers as himself, equipped with one of his lightsabers, and having him slaughter the Pikes on the landing pad. This shows some of Maul's patience and preparation here. Eventually Vario stuns the Dathomirian Zabrak, and he is brought in front of the Pike leader, who realizes immediately this isn't Maul. I think Maul knows Vario will out him immediately to the Pike leader, so he doesn't reveal himself immediately. I think this is the same Pike leader from the 7th season of the Clone Wars who spoke to Maul during the Martyr Sisters arc. Maul's aura entrance here is fantastic, and we see a similar murder of the Pike leader as we saw for Snoke in The Last Jedi. Seeing that film, I'll be honest, I kinda liked. Afterwards, Maul crowns a new leader for the Pikes, but only for him to be his puppet. This whole massacre, I suppose, in my opinion, is sort of set for the new Pike leadership that Maul is really in control here. I also enjoyed seeing more humanizing moments between Devon and Master Diodaki in this episode. I think it does show a more caring, less detached side of Daki, and Devon seems genuinely happy to see her old master again, who I feel she has a high amount of respect for. Maul's testing of her hasn't broken her Jedi resolve, yet at least, which I like. We don't want to see her mindset change too easily. It would feel a bit false and contrary if such was the case. Devon even goes out of her way to suggest trying to bring Maul to justice, but Diodaki shows a more rational side of himself and recognizing that they are no longer the arbiters of justice in this galaxy. He also notes that Maul has many mercenaries on his side. Afterwards, Devon suggests reaching out to Lawson, who both individuals are familiar with. This episode really peaks in the midway point when Lawson sends a strike team based on information on Maul's whereabouts that Diodaki provided him. We can see a side of Maul's manipulative side here, offering a peace offer to Lawson to not interfere in Janex's civilian affairs as long as Lawson does not alert the Empire, stroking his pride as a man of honor and intelligence. Now, if this is truly what Maul feels or a gambit to his benefit, we don't know. Albeit on this topic, it feels Maul has developed a grudging respect for surviving Jedi. Maybe he has changed in this regard. Regardless, Lawson refuses this offer, knowing Maul's criminal enterprise will eventually involve civilian deaths and unrest. Maul even calls Lawson's decision honorable. This leads to a fantastic shootout between Maul and Lawson's men, definitely the highlight of this episode and probably the series so far. Devon and Diodaki eventually catch up to Maul after sneaking through a roof entrance in the same abandoned building where the shootout between Maul and Lawson's forces is occurring. Diodaki offers Maul a choice, as Maul did to Lawson, that if he surrenders, he will be given a fair sentence and will be under their and Lawson's protection from the Empire. Maul obviously refuses and points out that beings of inferior power have managed to crush Jedi, which Maul admits that Jedi are powerful beings, but only if they took that power and used it for their own benefit. Maul would never have admitted that Jedi have the ability to be powerful under Sidious's tutelage, so this is an interesting change in his character. Maul proceeds to tempt Devin here that surviving Jedi should choose to give in to their strength in order to survive this new brutal regime that is the Empire. This catches Devin's attention, where we can see her question briefly her choice to follow the teachings of the Jedi. But Diodaki makes a good point that even during dark times, justice can and should be served to those who violate the rights of living beings. This whole discussion of opposing philosophies may come off as a bit on the nose and cliche. I mean, in some ways it is a series rated 12+. But this in a sense seems a bit new to Star Wars, and is interesting from a Sith's perspective, as I feel Sith often seem a bit two-dimensional in their beliefs, sometimes coming off as only power-hungry, and that being all their religion offers as a belief. I mean, as a classic example, Palpatine is literally in it for the love of the game being evil, which is still really entertaining, admittedly. Vader is a more human example of why someone would turn into a Sith, as that's the only path he had left genuinely. This is a man who lost everything and had genuinely no other path to walk on under the Galactic Empire. Maul here offers another interesting side of the Sith belief, one where the only choice is to take and not give, as that is the only option for survival here. It's either kill or be killed. I feel this is what the series is all about, admittedly. We proceed to see a nice, well-choreographed lightsaber duel between Maul and the Jedi. It feels cathartic, tense, and as I have said before, Maul seems more patient and precise with his lightsaber stance, blocking effortlessly both Jedi with his double-bladed lightsaber. It's nice seeing Maul's clique kick-ass also. Makes them look like a professional sort of special ops like criminal force. Maul almost murders Diodaki here before Devin gets in his way and defends Daki. Maul's clique afterwards escapes, including Vario, and Maul's leg is somehow damaged after the previous duel. Backup arrives for Lawson. Him and Two Boots meet again, and Two Boots informs subtly he informed the Empire of the current situation on Janax. Afterwards, we see for our final shot an Imperial Star Destroyer appearing on Janax. Overall, as my final thoughts, I like these two episodes, even if episode 3 was weaker in my opinion and pacing-wise the slowest in the series. It was one of those episodes that was necessary to move the plot forwards, but not much else in truth. I mean, it does pay off well in episode 4, though, with some great action set pieces. Dialogue between Devin, Diodaki and Maul are well written, and the duels in this episode are well directed. It's going to be great seeing the Empire finally appear in the series, even if I wish they would have appeared earlier in the series than almost halfway through. But now, I feel we can see some real Imperial terror in future episodes, and see how Maul, Lawson and Devin have to adjust with that fact. Especially with those Inquisitors around, which look to finally be a lot more threatening and menacing in this series, rather than how they've been portrayed in the canon so far with weak appearances and being easily defeated. So yeah, that was my thoughts on episode 3 and 4. I'm looking to covering episodes 5 and 6, especially with the setup at the end of the 4th episode, so stay tuned and look forward to that. Side note, I do still miss those Clone Wars intro quotes in these future series after the Clone Wars. If you enjoyed this video, like trading card games, wargaming, videos such as these, please do like and subscribe. Well, until next time, stay fresh.